So let's talk about databases on AWS. Specifically, what happens when you're managing a ton of them? If you're in that boat, you already know how fast things can get out of hand. Today, we're going to cut through that chaos and lay out a really clear strategy to get you back in confident control of your entire database estate.
Does this sound about right? You start off with just a few databases. Everything's fine. But then you blink, and suddenly you're responsible for dozens, maybe even hundreds. Each one is a critical piece of the puzzle, but trying to keep track of them all, it feels like you're trying to command a huge fleet of ships that have sailed right into a thick fog. You know they're out there, but you can't really see what's going on.
And in that fog, that's where the bad stuff happens. You've got performance bottlenecks that can just grind your applications to a halt. And even worse, there are these hidden security risks, kind of like reefs just waiting under the surface. You know, every single one of those unmonitored databases is basically a ship sailing blind. It's a potential disaster just waiting for its moment.
But what if we could just clear that fog away? What if you could give every single ship in your fleet a clear destination, a map, and a solid set of rules to navigate by? Well, that's exactly what we're going to build today. The solution is a really straightforward two-part strategy that's designed to give you total command.
Okay, first things first, we have to master observability. Think of this as the radar and sonar for our entire fleet. The guiding principle here is just dead simple. If you can't see what's happening across all your databases, you have absolutely zero chance of managing them well. It's just not going to happen.
So what should you actually be looking at? Well, it really depends on the type of database. For your relational databases, your RDS and Aurora instances, we're focused on performance classics, CPU, the number of connections, and query latency. But for something like DynamoDB, the game changes. It's all about read and write latency, and, this is a big one, throttle events. And of course, for both, you've got to watch the basics, the health vitals, like running out of disk space on RDS or system errors in DynamoDB. These are the absolute must-haves. Now, here's a crucial point. Just collecting all these metrics, that's not enough. When all that data is scattered across hundreds of different dashboards and consoles, it's just noise. It's useless. The very first real step to gaining control is to centralize everything. You need one single place to look, a single pane of glass, to turn all that chaotic noise into actual, usable intelligence.
And turning that noise into a clear signal is really a three-step process. Step 1, you centralize. Get all your logs, all your metrics, and funnel them into one tool, whether that's AWS CloudWatch or something else. Step 2, you have to alert smartly. Stop setting generic alarms that just go off all the time. You need specific, actionable alerts to tell you when a real problem is happening. And finally, you have to review and refine. This isn't a set it and forget it kind of deal. You have to constantly tune your alerts to get rid of the false positives and make sure you're only paying attention to the signals that really, truly matter.
All right, now that we can see our whole fleet, it's time to set the rules of the road. And that brings us to part 2, automated governance. This is how we make sure that every single database is secure, compliant, and configured the right way, all without you having to go in and check each one manually. And the difference here is, it's night and day. Look at this. On the left, you've got your typical misconfigured database. Public access is on, data is not encrypted, backups are off. This thing is a massive liability just waiting to cause a problem. But on the right, in a governed world, these critical security features are enforced by default. It's not a suggestion, it becomes the law of your land.
So how do we actually make these rules stick automatically? Well, AWS gives you a whole arsenal of weapons. You can use AWS config to automatically check things like, is encryption enabled? You can enforce tagging policies so that every single database has an owner and a cost center. For those really specific business rules, you can even write your own custom Lambda checks. And all of these tools work together because they're all built on the foundation of a configuration baseline.
Which brings us to this idea of a configuration baseline. The easiest way to think about this is as your golden template. It is the single approved standard for what a production-ready database is supposed to look like in your organization. Any new database has to match it, and all your automated checks are just continuously making sure your existing databases don't drift away from that standard.
Okay, so we can see our fleet with observability, and we can enforce the rules with governance. But how do we tie these two big ideas together? Well, we do it by defining what success actually looks like, using service-level objectives, or SLOs. This is how we stop talking in vague goals like high performance and start making concrete, measurable promises that our systems have to deliver on.
So what exactly is an SLO? At its heart, it's a promise.
You start with a metric you care about. That's your service level indicator, or SLI. Think latency or uptime. Then you just set a specific target for that metric, and that's your service level objective, the SLO. For example, promising 99.95% uptime, that's a clear SLO for the availability SLI. Simple as that.
And here is a super practical, simple template you can literally just take and use. Notice how there's no ambiguity here. We're defining our exact targets for key things like availability, latency, and even data durability, all over a specific period of time. It's not vague, it's a contract. It defines what good looks like for any database in your fleet.
And this is where the whole strategy becomes incredibly powerful. You don't just use SLOs to watch the systems you already have. No, you make this template a mandatory part of every single design review. Before anyone writes a single line of code, you force the conversation. How is this new service going to meet our fleet-wide SLOs? This is how you start building systems that are reliable from day one. You shift your governance from being reactive to being proactive. It's a game changer.
So when you put it all together, great observability combined with automated governance that's driven by clear SLOs, the payoff is just huge. Your security and performance risk, it plummets. Your operational complexity, it goes way down because everything is finally working off the same playbook. And the result of all that? A massive, massive boost in confidence for you, your team, and your entire organization.
So there you have it. You see your fleet with observability, you control it with automated governance, and you measure it all with clear SLOs. The only question left is, what's the first step you're going to take to command your fleet?